All right. Well, thank you very much for joining today's Malloy Industries Masterclass on how to reclaim your freedom and time by delegating and automating your business. We have a few different ways that Malloy Industries helps our clients. We have DIY, do-it-yourself solutions, done with you, or we'll support you, and done for you. If you want to outsource, entire functions of your business, we have the team of vetted, trusted experts who can help you meet those goals, reach the investor milestones, and ultimately get your time back as you're running your business. And so today you are going to have to stretch outside your comfort zone. And having a growth mindset means that you enjoy that stretching. And knowing the folks we've got here today, I don't think that'll be an issue at all. And so have you ever felt any of these emotions while running a business? Have you wanted to take a week's vacation or a road trip and feel confident that when you return refreshed, your revenue goals would still be on track? Perhaps you want to spend more quality time with your significant other or little 4-month-old son and not be obsessed or anxious or worried and stressed about the business and how is it going without you constantly tied in as the linchpin in every part of it. Well, guess what? You're not alone, and I want to confirm your suspicions, that there are a lot of people going through similar struggles, juggling and wrestling with those emotions, and we're here today to help you overcome them. Because as Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And Nelson Mandela, also said that it's not win or lose, it's win or learn. And this probably isn't the first time you've thought about why you aren't benefiting from being your own boss. You've probably tried other things and failed. And so we want to reframe all of those past, present, and even future failures as not losses, but learning opportunities that can help you grow. And so we've got a shared enemy, and it is our hustle culture that tells us there's always more money to make, a bigger title, promotion, more money to raise, a bigger business, a higher wall to climb, grinding it out 24/7. And so, I want you to take a minute today and just kind of reflect on what it is that you're after and what you're willing to do to get there. Life is what you make of it, and the race is long, and in the end, it's only with yourself. And so what do you want to do with your freedom and time? My personal worldview has massively shifted this year with the birth of my first son, Max Michael Malloy. He just turned 4 months old on Monday, and everything that I do now is to max my time with Max. And so this entire presentation is designed to get you to believe one thing, and that one thing is that delegation and automation are the key to reclaiming your freedom of time and getting the results you matter most. And by the time we finish this presentation, you're going to possess at least 3 new frameworks you can apply to delegate and automate your business and reclaim your freedom of time. And so let's define value here before we dive in. I was a math major, and so I love a good equation here. At a high level, we want to increase the things on the top, and we want to decrease the things on the bottom. So the dream outcome for your customers or your clients, what are they going to make? What are they going to achieve? How are they going to be transformed as a result of using your product or service? Times the perceived likelihood of achievement. How do they know it's going to happen? How confident are they? And then on the denominator is the time delay. How long is it going to take to have this transformation, to realize these benefits and get this value? And how much effort and sacrifice is expected of your clients in order to get that value. And a quick example to see this function or equation in practice, think about if you wanted to get a flat 6-pack abs and get in great beach shape. You could sign up for the gym, go 3 to 5 times a week, every week for 12 weeks, work out really hard. It takes a long time. You're putting all this effort and sacrifice, and maybe you pay $100 a month because you're also not that sure you're even going to get the outcome. Versus spending $25,000 to get plastic surgery done. It takes a couple of hours. You don't have to do much of anything. And the next day you look great. And so thinking about the value you're delivering, how can you, in the solutions you provide, play around with these 4 levers to provide more value to grow your business. And so let's define your value ladder. For Malloy Industries, we help multi-million-dollar company executives achieve freedom of time through frameworks to delegate and automate their business. And I would love the folks here in the chat. I just dropped the little Mad Libs there. If you want to fill that in as I move forward with it, would love to hear how you think about your value ladder. And I'm going to very quickly, provide some background. Luckily, the folks here know me pretty well. So I'm Mike. I studied math and computer science at Georgetown and Boston College. I worked at Deloitte Consulting. I had a social enterprise sunglasses company, Waveborn, that I ran for 6 years in my 20s, selling sunglasses and funding cataract surgery in the developing countries. And ultimately, I learned a lot through that experience, which I brought to Halcyon, where I served as the program coordinator, manager, and director over 5 years before setting sail on my own to start Malloy Industries last summer. And so I'm an entrepreneur like you. A few years ago, I was actually single and broke, going through business and personal bankruptcy while living in my parents' basement. It wasn't exactly how I pictured my life at 30. And I had spent the previous 6 years building dozens of different iterations of a sunglass company, Waveborn, hoping that we would find a path to profitability to kind of grow and scale. We didn't. It was a seasonal business with a revolving cast of characters. Elliot mentioned you've got some interns starting next week. I've managed more than 100 different interns throughout my career, and I've now taught more than 100 Georgetown students how to be a great intern. And Dory, I'm just checking out your value. You're helping my clients going from overwhelm and chaos to clarity and confidence by setting priorities and making value-based choices. I love that. I love it so much, and is so aligned with a lot of the work we do here. And so going through this kind of Waveborn journey, I realized that having me work harder wasn't the solution. I tried working 80-hour weeks. I tried hiring virtual assistants, but I micromanaged them, and for a lot of reasons it didn't work out. And so as you think about your why, I want to share mine. And so fast forwarding 5.5 years through the Halcyon era, my wife and I moved to the beach in Delaware during COVID. And, I have the overwhelming desire to earn enough income to provide for my family and my 10 nieces and nephews who are getting closer and closer to college, with my oldest niece, Molly, just moved into her freshman year at Boston College last week. And Boston College tuition is now $84,000 a year, which is outrageous. My sister's got 6 kids. My in-laws have another 4, and then we've got baby Max. So, this is my why, and I was able to go to Boston College because my great Aunt Agnes was a kind, loving soul who helped cover that tuition and really transformed my life, giving me access to education. And so I want you to think for a second, what's your why? I also want to be vulnerable with you, because this is one of the last photos taken with my mom before she passed away. And this Sunday is actually the 1-year anniversary, and I've been thinking about her a lot. And sort of what do I want to do with my time on Earth and with my family, and the impact to have. And I hope that I have some lessons from her and my dad in here too that I can share with you. And one analogy that I have found I love is that she's the quiver and I'm the arrow. And so all of the impact I can make in the world is really an extension of her life. And now that we've got baby Max, I'm thinking about it even more for him, and kind of focusing on how to create a bright future there. And so there's this conspiracy, and it's not your fault. All the years of failure and self-doubt and financial constraints that I went through, or actually because I was trying to achieve every business objective and reach every milestone all by myself. No wonder I was struggling. There are these big little lies that society tells us that you got to hustle harder and keep grinding. And, when I figured out that it was wrong, I changed my ways, and you can do it too. And so the villain in the story is this hustle culture that I want to dispel is not the solution. It's not how people are going to be happier and build better, more successful, scalable businesses. The real problem is social media, with all these CEOs raising millions of dollars in one post, with no mention of all the no's they heard along the way, and celebrating that 24/7 hustle, and always having time to eat delicious avocado toast. You know, the food just looks so good when people post it on Instagram. And so with that in mind, I want to dive into our first framework here, which is the kind of do and document your SOPs framework. And I learned this from one of our Malloy Industries members, William Casper, who was actually on a sales call with right before this, as he's a sales expert and helping a few of our clients kind of build out their sales teams where the founder doesn't have to be the chief salesperson, and you can kind of bring other people in to sell. And so William taught me that as I'm going through and running the business, I should do and document at the same time. Don't do it and say, hey, I'll come back 2 weeks later and I'll make notes on how I did this process so I can delegate to somebody else. Imagine there's like you as your boss on your shoulder watching what you're doing and being like, hey, we're gonna have to train somebody next week, next month, next year, how to do this process. And there are two amazing tools, Loom and Scribe, that we use to document our standard operating procedures. They both have free versions. I still use the free Scribe one. I paid for Loom because I did more than 25 and I love it so much. But with Loom, it's a Chrome extension plugin. You push record, it records everything on your screen. It can also record your video and audio for color commentary as you kind of walk through doing the actual process. The second one is called Scribe, and it's a similar thing. You push record, it tracks your mouse. Everything you click on and type and do in your web browser, when you hit stop, it spits out a line-by-line standard operating procedure of everything you just did. Some of them are 10 steps. I have some that are 50 or even 100 steps for the more complicated processes. And what I've been able to do with a couple of project managers we recently hired at Malloy Industries is give them access to our manager manual with all the SOPs, and they've just started doing the work. I've saved myself hours and hours of onboarding and questions where they know, hey, they can watch the video, they can read the SOP if they're a visual learner, to basically do their job better and identify tasks that entrepreneurs don't want to be doing as their company scales. And so it's not just me that's worked well for, it's also worked for our clients. And so we've been working with Breaking Tea, which is a sports t-shirt company. They basically make breaking news t-shirts. If it makes SportsCenter's top 10, within 48 hours, they've launched a new t-shirt they sell online. And they're doing tens of millions of dollars in annual revenue with a 17-person company, but nobody can take vacation because nobody knows how to do what anybody else does. And so we're working with them to record Loom videos and document these processes because they realize that they can work smarter, not harder, to be able to work on the business and be able to document those SOPs to stop working 80 and maybe even less than 40 hours a week while the business grows and scales. So this next framework combines two things that my parents loved. My mom absolutely loved the Crayola markers. And I've got the pack here on my desk. They're out every day. And I was able to save 7 packs of her leftover Crayola markers. So I think I got a few years left of that ink to make these daily note cards where every night before bed, I write on one side, what the frog is that I need to accomplish. And I have a handy dandy little frog here that I put on top of it. So I know, hey, I can't flip it over and do the other things for the day until I've done that frog. So I wired in this morning at 5:30 a.m., spent an hour and a half writing a letter of recommendation for my teaching assistant and project manager, Isa, who's applying to be a Fulbright scholar. Like, that was the most important thing. Today's the deadline for her application. I think I have some buffer, but I want to get it in today. And, having this system where every night I look at my calendar, I look at my, Airtable to-do list, getting things done, and I put down kind of color-coded, which matches the colors on my calendar, what it is that I need to get done the next day, and then kind of check them off throughout the day. And what's amazing about this is nowhere on this list does it ever say, check my email. It doesn't say, look at the alerts on my phone. It doesn't say, check social media, unless maybe it says post on LinkedIn around lunchtime. That's the only social media thing there. And what that does is it allows you to wake up and start your day with the map that you created the night before for yourself. And it has absolutely transformed my business and what I'm able to accomplish in a limited amount of work time, knowing that I'm getting up early with Max, I'm taking breaks in the middle of the day with him, and I'm trying to log off by 5 or 6 to spend as much time as I can with him. And so the frameworks you're going to learn today have made me more confident in the systems and processes to scale our business and serve our clients. And I hope they'll do the same for you. And so we've got 3 secrets. Secret number 1 is that delegation and automation are the key to reclaiming your time. Secret number 2 is that you can use leverage to maintain your standard of quality. And secret number 3 is that your new system is going to be resilient and adaptable to changes in the market. Let's take a look at the first secret here. This is fun stuff and things that I love applying and helping others apply to their businesses. So 1 year ago, I joined a CEO accountability group hosted by Start, Grow, Manage. We meet every Wednesday from 1 to 2, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made, probably in my professional career and definitely with Malloy Industries. And I was able to see firsthand how Sophia, who's up there in the top middle, was able to kind of tag team and be the Robin to Joe, who's in the bottom middle, as the Batman. It was amazing the way she complemented his strengths, was able to follow up on things, share resources, keep the meeting running on track when Joe, might see a shiny object or a squirrel and get a little distracted. It just transformed the impact Joe could have with his work. And so I knew that I needed Sophia 2.0 for Malloy Industries. But what I didn't know was what were they going to do and how was I going to find them? And so I was able to figure out what that person was going to do by applying the delegation matrix decision framework. And you start in the bottom right here, and it's kind of an XY axis on what do you like, don't like, what are you efficient or inefficient at. And so you start with the things that you don't like and you're inefficient with. Make a list. You can jot it down on a note card in a Google Doc on your phone. And these are all of the things that need to go on somebody else's job description. And it might be a new person that you're hiring, or it could be an existing team member where you're able to delegate these things to them. After that, there's a fork. You're going to go both paths, but you can go to either one first. What are the things that you don't like, but you're efficient at? Maybe you can do it really quickly, but it's not a good use of your skills. And you shouldn't be sending the QuickBooks invoices. You should have an accountant or a bookkeeper, somebody doing that to free up that time for you. Another thing for me is setting up meeting agendas. It's been transformative this year where I don't set up any of my meeting agendas. I have people book the meetings with a Calendly, and I have a project manager, Isa, who I actually wrote the letter of recommendation for this morning, who looks at my calendar every Monday, creates a new agenda based on, we have about 10 different templates, which I can share with you as well, for the types of meetings, whether it's an intro first coffee chat, or it's a sales meeting. And I just dropped a link in the chat there to those meeting agendas. With having her make copies of these, put the info from the calendar invite in there, saves me hours and hours each week. The other thing you want to delegate is things you like but are inefficient at. I like following up after meetings, but I'm super inefficient at it. I kind of get this backlog, and without Isa and Chloe's help, I'm not able to get those emails out promptly to share the resources we talked about. And then in the top left, you have the things you like and you're efficient at. Hang on to them. If you clear out the other 3 buckets, you can do it again in there and find some things maybe you don't like as much as others. But thinking about things you don't like and or are inefficient at, and then delegate them to other people on your team. And to help you decide who to delegate to, you can use different personality assessments like the Myers-Briggs, the Clifton Strengths Finder, Bleeker's Collaborative Intelligence, and Gretchen Rubin's 4 Tendencies. We use all 4 of these as part of the interviewing and onboarding process at our company so that we know both how to communicate with folks, what types of projects and tasks are best suited for their strengths, and how we can create accountability or feedback loops based on the 4 tendencies to make sure they're set up for success, and they can do the work that isn't best for you. And so I've got a few quick rules here that my dad taught me about delegating. The first is the 10-80-10 rule. When you want to delegate something, you want to be there for the first 10% to define what the project is, what's the goal line, how are you going to know you've achieved success, and explain why it matters. How does this impact the overall business or other important elements of your mission, vision, values? And then you let them go. For the next 80%, the person you've delegated to, they do the work, and they're not going to do it exactly the way you would have, and that's great because they don't have to. Their 80% is probably equal to your 50%. It doesn't have to be as good or perfect or written exactly the way you would have. What's important is that you're not responsible or accountable for it. You are consulted because they're going to circle back in that last 10% and say, hey, how does this look? You might say, hey, change the font here, reword this sentence. but it's good. Let's ship it. Let's get it over the goal line. The second rule from my dad is the 20-minute rule. And so he worked at Sears for more than 30 years in retail, and every week would have truck day with these new fall sweaters that needed to go out on the display. And so he'd assign some of the people on his team to, hey, go set up this new display. And he'd come back 20 minutes later to see if they had started. Had they opened the box? Had they put the first sweater out? If not, he would get the little knife out of his pocket. He would open the box. He'd pull it out. He'd show it to them, and he'd hang the first one up and show them how to do it and make sure they had the activation energy and the momentum to keep moving forward and that they weren't blocked from either an obstacle or just procrastination in getting started. Similar to this, I learned from one of my business coaches, Steve Hyman, the show, tell, check, correct method, where you want to show someone how to do something, you tell them how to do it, and then you let them do it. You come back 20 minutes or longer later, you check their work, you correct it, give them a little bit of feedback, and encourage them to keep going. So that's all about how to delegate. But it's important to note that deciding what not to do can be as important as deciding what to do. And you might not need to do it, but the company might not need to do it either. There may be activities you're doing that aren't serving you, that aren't creating any gross profit or contribution margin to help your business. They're just sucking up time and resources, and you need to cut them out. And the next framework we have is the ABC model scorecard to shift from irritation to fascination. And I learned this one from Dan Sullivan of The Strategic Coach, which helps accomplished entrepreneurs reach new heights of success and happiness. He's coached over 1,000 entrepreneurs in 40 plus years, one of the smartest virtual mentors I've ever had, reading his books and watching some of the sessions he's done. In a simple 3-circle diagram, you write down all of the things that are irritating to you, all of the things that are okay, but don't really get you excited, but you don't mind them too much, and then what fascinates and motivates you. And Elliot, I know there's a lot out there that fascinates and motivates you. And imagine if you could spend all day, every day, just in that fascinating and motivating circle. That's what we're trying to do here, because the irritating and the okay things fall into that delegation bucket of things that you want to give to other people, so that you can use your strengths and unique abilities to find joy in what you're working on. The next framework is called the XDS 1-month operational analysis. And so there's an amazing tool that I've been using for the past month called Toggle, which allows you to track your time, what you're working on different projects. We've rolled it out for our team, so I know what projects they're working on as well. And you need to do that for at least a week to have some good data to look at. What do I cut? What do I delegate? And what do I systematize? And we can go through, rescue time and email tracker. Those are great ones. Having that data allows you to reflect, assuming you put hopefully 30 minutes on the calendar, either on a Friday or a Monday, to do a weekly review, which is another thing I do to look at, who got my best time? What do I not need to be doing? And what are things too that like most other people could do, or with a short loom and Scribe, I could train somebody else and just record it the next time I have to do it and say, hey, this is for you now. So there are a lot of automation tools out there. These are some of our favorites. I use Airtable all day, every day. Calendly has saved so many back and forth emails on, when are we going to meet? Grammarly. So I'll share, I'm dyslexic. I spell a lot of words wrong. Vowels are super confusing. To me, I know if I get it kind of right, I can then right click on the underlined word and Grammarly will fix it for me. So that's super helpful. We use Slack for communication, HubSpot as a CRM with marketing automations, and on our website, Malloy Industries, there's a lot of different resources you can download with some HubSpot forms that, let us know you're interested in that resource. And then Zapier can connect a lot of systems together.
Why do you use Calendly and not HubSpot's meeting scheduler?
I had previously adopted Calendly, and I like it. And I also paid for the year subscription for 4 of us. So it was kind of, I got there first before we adopted HubSpot.
Got it.
And whichever scheduling thing you do, the more questions you can ask on the front end to pre-qualify folks, if it's a sales meeting, or to, I ask in every time somebody fills it out, let's start with the end in mind. What do you hope to accomplish in this meeting or with this project? And in some places I ask, like, how did you hear about us? So I know who referred us, or like what the context is for them filling out the form on our website. We have Malloy Industries experts in 9 different business functions. So I also asked them to check the box of, which business functions do you need help in? So that helps us going into the meeting know who might we recommend or who might we even invite to that first meeting to introduce. So next up, I want to teach you how to Marie Kondo your tabs. I'm sharing one beautiful tab and window with you. I got about 12 other windows and who knows how many tabs open. One tab is an amazing Chrome plugin. It's got this little guy. If you can see my mouse up here in the top right, you push it and it just sucks everything up and allows you to save all those tabs for later. If you're working on different projects, you can kind of compartmentalize what you're doing. And hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining here. We're doing a little Marie Kondo for your tabs right now. And so if you have a project that you need to work on in 2 days, but you don't need to do it for the next 2 days, just close it out. And I close it, and I save certain clients there. And then when it's time for me to work on that project again, I can open them up. The example on the right here, we have 9 different functional pages on our website. Sometimes I got to make changes to all 9 of them. So I just open that up. I can very quickly make all those changes and then close it for the next time we need it. And that frees up your computer memory. It also frees up your mental memory because you don't have to spend time hunting and pecking around the tabs where you can't tell which one's which and, wasting a lot of your time and energy. And so it's not just us. We've helped a lot of CEOs delegate and automate their companies for scale. We helped Traxel to redefine and streamline their sales strategy and processes for leveraging distributors to install their patented method for painting optical fiber on the road to help close the digital divide. And I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we have do it yourself, done with you and done for you solutions. And you're not alone. You don't have to be a technical wizard or have your master's in computer science to put these things together. They're pretty straightforward. And when my parents paid for me to go to Boston College to study computer science, they actually got a lifetime tech support contract. And I've logged close to 10,000 hours in terms of phone, video, text, email, helping them, use different things. And so if there is anything we've talked about you need help with, be happy to help you out afterwards, get it set up. And so let's take a look at secret number 2, which is that you can use leverage to maintain your standard of quality. And we're going to talk about automating unlimited copy and paste, minimum acceptable days, and leverage lists. And so this next framework is going to save you hundreds of hours of your life. And if this presentation only teaches you this one thing, you will be able to massively leverage technology to reclaim your time. I was able to successfully raise more than $10,000 in less than a day and a half. And I did it twice. And I'm going to show you how with the help of this video. 12-12 game to 13, and I'm coaching Georgetown men. Oh my gosh! This is up.
Oh my God! I cannot believe I filmed that! Oh my God!
I have all the goosebumps and all the feels at this point. And we were able to use that video and our alumni Georgetown Frisbee Network to raise almost $15,000 in order to help pay for the team to go to Wisconsin to nationals for the first time in school history. A couple years earlier, I had done a crowdfunding campaign with Waveborn Sunglasses where we hit our goal of 10 grand in less than a day and a half. And the secret behind it was using a tool called Brevi. And so if you're a PC user, it's called Brevi. It allows you to save hundreds of different copy and paste shortcuts. And so I have different Calendly links that I use for different types of meetings. And I just type in a few keys and then boom, it automatically fills them in. I teach this Georgetown Startup Internship Seminar. I have like 12 links associated with that at this point in time, but they're all GSI and then a letter, and then I push a semicolon and it fills them into different Airtable forms, to a link to student resumes, to a list of like dean forms they might need to fill out to get approval. And I'm copying and pasting these and putting them in emails all of the time. So I encourage you to think about what are things where you have more than once had to go somewhere, look something up, copy it, Control C, go somewhere else, Control V, paste it, and send it. Because now you can save them as a little keyboard shortcut. So you don't have to look it up. You don't have to Control C. You just type in the little keyboard shortcut, push the semicolon, and then it fills it in. And, another example, like the EIN number for my business, I don't have that memorized. It's just there. I hit EIN semicolon and it fills it in whenever I'm filling out a form if they need that. My phone number is in here as P1 semicolon. There are a lot of ways that you can save time and think about text strings, or especially links like these Google Docs that are gibberish at the end of them and you're never going to remember anyways. Instead of this whole thing, I just type COSPD, which is Chief of Staff Position Description, and that links right to that Google Doc. If you're a Mac user, I have good news. You can use text replacement. And I believe this comes standard on Macs, and it's just there. There's also a software called Text Expander, which does cost a little bit of money. And Brevi costs $35, but it will pay for itself in the first week. I guarantee it. With all of the time it will save for you. And so as I talk through it, this is kind of the method for doing it. When you think about copying something, you want to set up an abbreviation, and then you start enjoying the time savings. And dun, 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 guess what? You can do it on your phone too. If you have an iPhone, you go to Settings, General, Keyboard, Text Replacement, and you just put the little things in there. And this saves you, especially, I now do a lot of typing with one thumb while holding a baby in the other arm. So my dexterity and keyboard speed has slowed down. So this has been helpful there as well. So the next thing I want to talk about real quick are habits, and this framework of a minimum acceptable day that I learned from Jerry Seinfeld. So he's such a funny guy because many, many years ago, he set up a minimum acceptable day for himself that he has to write one joke each day. Only one, not 5, not 10. If he writes one joke, he gets to write a big red X on his calendar. And then he's got a streak going, and you don't want to break the streak. And so this idea of, don't break the chain, have this momentum. I have an app on my phone called Elevate that gives me like 5 brain games to play every day. I've got a 33-day streak going. I already did it today. I think this year I've missed like 4 total days. I love the momentum. I love knowing that, hey, I continue to do this. And so think about like, what are the small habits that you can set up that can create massive compounding impact over time, as well as what are the keystone habits that kind of ripple through the things you do. For me, drinking water is a keystone habit. Hydration is a process, not an event, and a lot of good, positive, healthy things come from that. I could talk for a whole hour about habits. In fact, I have a whole hour-long lecture for the Georgetown Startup interns on habits. If you want it, I'll send you a link to that afterwards as well. And so this concept of activation energy for new habits is really important, because you don't want to set up a goal of, or a habit of, I'm going to do 100 push-ups a day. What if you just said, I'll do 1 push-up a day? And so you need the activation energy to kind of get down on your hands, do 1. But once you've done that 1, it's not that hard to do the 2nd or the 3rd. You're in the position, the 20th or the 30th, that's a little bit harder, but let's just get the activation energy going. The same thing is true with a bunch of dirty dishes in the sink. You look at me, don't commit to clean the whole kitchen and the whole sink. Wash 1 dish. You roll up your sleeves, get your hands wet, get the soap on the sponge. You do the first one, you're like, I'm here, I'm already wet. I might as well do a couple more. You don't have to finish the whole thing, but ride that activation energy to keep you going. And you want easy, consistent habits that are so easy, you can't say no. And that means that you'll have the motivation to do it on the hard days. I grew up a Baltimore Orioles fan with Cal Ripken Jr., greatest baseball player of all time, the Iron Man. He played in like 2,600 consecutive games. He went to work every day. You put your hat on, you go to work. It doesn't mean he was the best player on the field every day, but he showed up and did it. And I think that consistency is really important. And so the last framework here with Secret 2 is about leverage lists. So we all have to-do lists, and to-do lists are actions to complete regularly, whereas leverage lists are actions that work for you after completion. So you could go to the gym, or you could book a personal trainer for 3 months. You could train someone on the marketing team one-on-one live, or you could record the training on Loom and Scribe to create a reusable SOP for your current and future team members, so you don't have to lead that training ever again. To-do lists are actually time liability. Okay, they require willpower again in the future, whereas leverage lists are time assets. that need willpower once and live on in the future. So you want to reduce and avoid these time liabilities and invest in time assets. And here's a real quick razor to distinguish between the two. If once done, the item will appear repetitively again, you're working on a liability. If once done, your future to-do list is forever shorter and easier, you're working on a time asset. And so we've been able to help several clients, including Breakout with Carrie Clark. And we actually have Carrie Clark to thank because I wouldn't be here today giving this presentation if it wasn't for her. Last summer, as I had left Halcyon and was kind of navigating what's next, I had met with her and she was really struggling to find trusted, vetted consultants and contractors to help her build her company. And she started this company, Breakout, which offers remote team building activities. And it's grown from $0 to more than $3 million in revenue in 2 years. And at the time, Carrie was wasting so much time and energy trying to find smart people with the skills that she was missing. So she told me that I should use my relationships and unique abilities, aka dad jokes, to create a network or consulting group that entrepreneurs can tap into to delegate and automate their work and free up their time. And I think Carrie has now reached out to us for 7 different projects over the past year since we built this out. And we didn't realize when we started collaborating with consultants, that we'd be able to sleep better at night and spend more quality time with the family, while also seeing the bank accounts rise month over month. And so with that, I want to dive into our third and final secret here, that your new system will be resilient and adaptable to changes in the market, thanks to Maslow's hierarchy of needs for your customers, employees, investors, and your business. And so we've covered these fantastic frameworks so far to delegate and automate your work and showed you how to use leverage. This secret is all about how the new system is going to be resilient so that it can operate without you worrying as much about it. And so a quick overview of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've got this pyramid here at the bottom of it, food, water, air to breathe, your basic physiological needs. You need a place to sleep with a roof over your heads. In the middle of that pyramid, we get to love and belonging, friendship, a sense of community, as well as self-esteem, feeling good about yourself and your skills. And when those layers are fulfilled, you can spend more and more time at the top in self-actualization. This kind of higher dimension thinking where you're solving complex problems and creating tremendous kind of impact in the world. And it's really, really fucking hard for entrepreneurs to be up there if they don't have enough money in the bank account, if they're alone, if they don't know where their next meal is coming from, or they're sleeping in their car, or they don't have anybody supporting, encouraging, and collaborating with them along the way. And so that same pyramid applies to customers, employees, and investors. The first one on the top here is customers, where at the base, you need to meet their expectations so they're satisfied. You need to meet their desires so they're committed to using your product. And the magic happens when you meet their unrecognized needs, they become brand evangelists. And so at Waveborn, we offered a 365-day warranty, which means if you lost your sunglasses, if they were stolen or broken in the first year, we would mail you a new pair for free. Nobody else in the industry did this. Nobody thought we had to. And they were like, Malloy, you're going to lose so much money. Like, people are going to take advantage of it. Like, they're just going to fill out the form and get free shades. Well, what actually happened was the exact opposite. The people who went through our warranty program became our biggest brand evangelists. They told everybody about the company and our social mission. We even had a woman who went to the zoo and had her glasses on her head like this, leaned back, taking a picture with a giraffe, fell into the giraffe exhibit. The giraffe stepped on the glasses and broke them. I can't make this stuff up. We mailed her a new pair for free, and she told everybody that story, and we got a bunch of sales from her friends as a result of meeting that unrecognized need. So I encourage you to think about, for your customers and clients, like, what are their unrecognized needs they don't even know that they need? But if you were to able to solve that or transform them, they would want to tell everybody about it. In the bottom left here, we have the similar employee pyramid, where the base, they need enough money to pay their rent and meet their bills. But when you get above 75K a year or so, it doesn't make too much of a difference. The middle is recognition, which generates loyalty. Telling people publicly that you appreciate them. You should always praise publicly, reprimand privately. Telling someone that you trust them to make a decision, or you appreciate the thing they did that impacted you and you were able to do something better. That recognition in staff meetings or email threads goes a long way. And the top of that pyramid is meaning. Are they inspired to work with you? Does your mission, vision, values as the company align with their personal ones and the story they tell themselves about who they are and the impact they seek to have in this world? Now, in the bottom right, we have a similar pyramid for investors. And at the base of that pyramid is transactional alignment. Does the deal make sense? Do they think they could make some or potentially a lot of money? And do they trust you? The middle of this pyramid is the relationship alignment. And I call this the dinner in Chicago test, where if you and an investor were in Chicago for one night and one night only, would you want to have dinner together? You're going to have a good meal, break bread. You'll talk a little bit of business, but you're also going to talk about life and family and the local sports team, maybe have a bottle or two of wine. Like, is that a relationship you want to have? And is it something they want? And if either of you thinks, probably not, don't do the deal, And now the peak of this investor pyramid, the self-actualization for investors, is all about legacy, and it's their pride of ownership. What do they want to tell their kids and grandkids that they used their wealth to invest in and both generate more wealth and create a positive impact? And similarly, what do they want to brag about on the golf course to their buddies that, hey, I own some equity in this business. It's this really cool company. You should check it out. And so thinking about, the story that the investors tell themselves and they want to tell, their friends and family about, what they're doing with their wealth really factors into, is it a good investment to make? And so there's also something called the business hierarchy of needs that I learned from another Mike M in his book, Fix This Next. And so it basically applies the same principles to business, where at the base you need sales and then profit, and then you need some order and structure and processes in order to give impact and create that legacy that you want to do. And we do have one of our Malloy Industries consulting group members, Ashley Berghoff with A Squared, offers, I'll say two things. One, she's a certified Fix This Next coach and is an expert at how to apply this. And if you do decide to want to work with us, she would help you in applying this methodology. She also offers 1 hour complimentary sessions to talk about the strategy for how you're thinking about the operations and processes within your company, as her business focuses on finding full-time virtual assistants to staff and join your team. They do the recruiting, interview, vetting. You hire them, and then she stays on for 6 months to train them and make sure they're doing a great job handling those things that you have delegated to them. And so a couple more case studies here, as we worked with Connor to both help him find new clients as well as match him with another member in our consulting group who's an HR generalist to help handle some of the HR needs of their team. We also spent about 1.5 years working with Felix Gray, building out their corporate sales processes and bringing in new leads, and applying some of the frameworks we talked about here in order to create a scalable solution for both of them. And so I want to recap the 3 secrets from today's presentation and ask you a few questions. Do you think that delegation and automation are the key to reclaiming your time and your freedom?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you understand ways to use leverage with your time?
A little bit, less, yeah.
But all right. And I think that automating that copy and paste is really the key to leverage some of your time there with the automation. And third, Elliot, do you see how your new system can be resilient and adaptable to changes in the market?
Kind of. Like as we went along, I was like, oh yeah, the processes that you describe here are really useful, and I want to make sure that I maintain them. And so any additional tips and tricks that you have to maintain these kind of systems, I always get really excited about a new tool, and then all of a sudden, maybe like a month later, I notice I'm not using it anymore.
Yeah. Elliot, do you have an accountability buddy?
Kind of, sort of. Maybe I need to attend your habit seminar. I think that'll help.
I think that could help. And Elliot, we could even set up just a little accountability text back and forth or an email. It's a once a week check-in where you're making promises and commitments to develop these habits, whether they're business or not. I'm in 2 different accountability groups I meet with weekly, and I have a note card on my desk of the promises I made for this week that I know, hey, next Tuesday and Wednesday, I have to tell them whether or not I did it. And knowing that in the back of my head, forces me to do it on some of the times where I don't want to do it. Does that make sense? Your audio is breaking up there. It's just static.
Oh, the audio is.
Yeah.
What happened there?
I'll follow up with you afterwards a little bit more on accountability. And Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies helps to think about how to set up the external accountability systems so that you keep using them and it kind of becomes, an unconscious habit. And so hopefully you are so excited about all the things we just talked about. Many of you may also be feeling a little overwhelmed with all the things that we just covered and tried to put here in today's presentation. And hopefully you won't mind. I'm going to spend probably the next 6 or 7 minutes to go over a very special offer that I've created to help implement today's frameworks. And this is basically why we created Malloy Industries Consulting Group. It's taken more than a year of my life to build this. A year when my mom passed away, 1 week after we found out my wife was pregnant with our first son. A year filled with more than 150 customer discovery interviews via Zoom to validate our business model canvas. And a year when we've also onboarded more than 100 members to the Malloy Industries Consulting Group and invested more than $100,000 to build this dream team. And it was totally worth it because now you get to use it without going through the same effort and sacrifice that we did. Because our expert community has more than 1,000 years of diverse experience and unique abilities kind of bringing to your virtual doorstep. And so our business helps growth stage company executives build remote consulting teams so they can reclaim their time while scaling the business from 2 million to 22 million in revenue. Most of our clients don't have the time to recruit, interview, vet, hire, onboard, and train full-time employees while dealing with 17 hair on fire problems. You want to earn more revenue while working less in the business. And so we've designed it so you can collaborate with Malloy Industries vetted, trustworthy fractional executives so you can achieve your business objectives, reach your investor milestones, and reclaim your valuable time to focus on what matters most. And, it's not, you don't have to just take our word for it. We've worked with several different companies, accelerators, and even a couple nonprofits in there as well to help them automate and delegate their businesses so that they're able to scale. And so here's the package that we put together for the folks attending the webinar today. When you sign up, you're going to get access to our entire network of experts to lead you through these 10 steps to identify your organization's obstacles to freeing your time without sacrificing your quality. And in each of these audits or assessments, we're identifying opportunities for you to delegate or automate workflows to free your time, save you money, and increase employee morale. And so we do a primary business model and strategy pressure test. We'll take a look at your standard operating procedures. We also do some marketing and branding assessing. We inspect the sales funnel activities, examine your onboarding process, evaluate your team engagement. And we find ways to reduce your redundant recurring meetings. There's a lot of meetings that we find, especially as organizations grow, that don't need to be happening at the frequency they're having, don't have to have everybody in there. And a short 1 or 2 page brief may be able to summarize everything that folks need to know. We'll take a quick look at your financial status and fundraising game plan. We have a really helpful software subscription audit tool to kind of analyze your tech stack and see if you're overspending in certain areas, or perhaps there are functions of your business where you might be spending, $1,000 a month on different marketing things, but you're spending $20 on HR things. Maybe there's some more things you could be doing to support that department and ultimately give you delegation, automation, and leverage recommendations. And so you'll be able to feel more confident, see the quality, delegate the work, mitigate your risks, save money and time while operating in your zone of genius. And it all comes down to that why that we talked about at the beginning, so you can spend time with the people you love the most. You'll be able to get rid of the uncertainty and anxiety, the sleepless nights, unless you have a 4-month-old baby, in which case they're still going to be there. We were up at 12 and then 4 and 5. So, that comes with the territory. But in terms of the business, we'll get rid of the stress and worries for you. And so when I was first figuring this stuff out, I ran into a big roadblock. I didn't know how to delegate or automate or who could help me with it. And I didn't have any time to do it. So I just worked longer and harder with brute force. However, I was able to overcome those roadblocks with Malloy Industries. We can help you do it yourself, do it with you, or do it for you by leveraging our network to help you save time. And so what you're going to get with today's offer is the end of summer entrepreneur evaluation to transform your time. We're also going to throw in a bonus. When you sign up today, you'll get the delegation matrix decisions and implementation plan that we went over. Next up, if you sign up today, we're going to share our most efficient meeting agenda templates for delegation. And I did drop a link in the chat there because I was so excited, and I want to make sure you can benefit from these to help people on your team create agendas to go confidently from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting with a pre-scripted agenda, list of questions, a place to take notes that can easily get added to your CRM system. So you free up all of that time from planning and preparing. And with that on the offer stack here, we're also going to help you close new business faster with proven proposals and airtight legal templates. We've invested $25,000 paying lawyers to figure out all of our contracts and get things set up. And we're going to give them to you for free. This is an asset that we use to grow our business. You can make a few small changes in there, and I'm sure it could be applied to various client engagements you have, as well as contractor agreements there. So you're going to get full access to all of them to close more business and write better proposals. We're also going to give you the ABC model scorecard, which helps you shift, again, from those irritating or okay actions, delegate them to spend more and more time in your zone of genius on those fascinating and motivating activities. And then we touched on briefly the XDS method for cutting, delegating, and systematizing, whether you use Toggle Track or any other tools. We can look at that data with you to identify what can be cut, delegated, or systematized for you. And last but certainly not least, to add to this offer for today, for attending today's masterclass, you're going to get experts from Malloy Industries Consulting Group to conduct needs assessments and give recommendations for ways to strengthen your relationships with your most valuable stakeholders across these four. And so here's a look at the overall offer that we're talking to you today. And we're coming up at time, so I'm going to very quickly run through my notes here, because obviously we're not going to charge you $58,812. But if we did charge you $58,000 and all it did was give you an extra 10 hours a week for the rest of your life to do whatever you wanted to do, would that be worth it? Or what if we charged $58,000 and all you got was a system that you could delegate and automate your current tasks that are either inefficient or irritating, and you never had to do them ever again? Would that be worth it? And so we had two choices as putting together the offer for today's attendees. We could do it as cheap as possible and try to sell as many as possible. But the problem with that is that we couldn't really stack the value for you. And so we decided to go with option two, which obviously requires a slightly higher investment on your side. But in exchange for that, our team can dedicate more energy and time and resources to help you guarantee your success. And so we thought about offering it, maybe for $40K, and then decided not to charge that. And then we thought, maybe we'll do it for $25K, but we decided we didn't want to do that either. And so we're like, all right, $15,000, is a steal for everything in this offer. But we decided not to do that because today we're going to give a hugely discounted price for only $9,997. You get everything that you see here. It's worth well more than $50,000 and would cost a lot more if you were to go, and hire other professionals or full-time employees to do it, especially including all the legal fees along the way. But because you're learning how to do it yourself and we're giving you all the tools and resources to make it happen fast, you can invest less than 10 grand, 9,997 to try it out. And there's no risk in this offer because we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you want to sign up today, and for any reason in the month of September, you're not satisfied with it, it's not working out for you, we'll give you money back. And we want you to be successful. We also only have 2 spots available because I'm taking paternity leave the second half of this month as my wife heads back to work. So if you do want to take one of the 2 spots, send me an email or drop anything in the chat here. I'll leave this slide up now and pause to answer any questions that people have. And I appreciate your time and attention for today's Malloy Industries Masterclass, and look forward to the opportunity to work together.
Wow. Thank you, Mike. Mike, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, go for it, Joy.
One is you mentioned 2 million. Is that like a threshold for the companies that you work with in terms of revenues? What is the
Yeah.
And
Great.
then
Let me do that one first. That is kind of our ideal client profile, are companies that have generated ideally a couple million, but certainly at least a few $100,000 in revenue. I worked with a lot of really early stage folks at Halcyon. I love them. I will continue to kind of pro bono help them through their journeys. But in order to kind of have the budget and the growing business that they need, these different experts, ideally they've got a couple million in revenue, and we're probably not the first consultant or agency they've ever worked with, and they see the value of bringing in the experts. Typically we'll get started for like a 3 or a 6 month engagement to solve one specific need. And then when they have another problem that comes up, I get a surprising amount of like 1 a.m. emails from CEOs being like, hey, do you have somebody who can help with this? And so that's how we kind of grow those trusted partnerships.
Okay. Yeah, because you answered my question. The second one was, do you work with any startups that if they could, if they wanted to invest this money?
Yeah, we do. And especially if, I'll use kind of the bookkeeper example. If somebody needs a bookkeeper, we have 3 in our network, and I can very quickly say, hey, here's the 3 of them. I can introduce you to 1, 2, or 3. You can decide who you want to work with. Mm-hmm. And, whether you're paying a few $100 or a couple $1,000, depending on how complicated things are, that's an easy thing we can set up. Some of the more complex things that, might be a larger engagement, then it's up to them and the budget, but we don't really want you to use your life savings to pay us to do work. We want to be, part of the team building the company with you.
Okay. And are there any industries that, that's your specialization, or, do you work with like defense companies? Do you work with nonprofits, those kind of, industries? How does this work?
Yeah, we are relatively industry agnostic, with the caveat that we haven't done any work with defense companies, and that doesn't really interest me. I am a social entrepreneur at heart, so having some sort of impact somewhere in the work that they're doing speaks to me. And we will work with nonprofits for sure. We've done some work with them in the past as well, but we've got healthcare companies, education, technology, a t-shirt company, CPG, services business. I'm just kind of going through the client roster here, a fintech company. So and we try to identify what parts or departments of the business do you need help with, and then kind of bringing in the right people.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Elliot or Stephanie, any questions before we wrap up today?
I don't have any questions.
Elliot, I think you're in full static mode, my friend. So I'll tell you what, I will wrap things up here. I will send out a follow-up email later today with a link to this recording, as well as the slides, so you can check them out. I'll include the habit slides in there as well, if you want to look through those. And yeah, any questions, or